Can you, in your own words, and briefly describe to us or define to us what is imperialism? What is the global south and what is the global north?
Yeah, this is an old concept, imperialism. Effectively, what imperialism refers to is a structure in the world where certain people, either a minority group of people as nations or a group of nations, uh, oppresses the majority of the world, treats them as subhuman, takes their resources and sells them finished goods. In other words, continues to benefit by the subjugation of other people using their labor, their resources, and so on. That's imperialism. Imperialism is something that we experienced, during the British colonization of large parts of Africa, Asia, French colonization of large parts of Africa, some parts of Asia, so on. I mean, in a sense, after the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, the totality of Palestine was colonized by the British and was held as a so-called mandate. Palestine was in British hands and north of Palestine in French hands, the French mandate, including what is today Lebanon. Then the extraction of resources and the use of other people's labor at lowered cost. That's imperialism. You see, we live in a slightly different period than the classical imperialism. Why is that? Well, some countries, particularly in the post-World War II period, centered around the United States, began to mute their various differences. So the Europeans muted whatever differences they had with the United States, and they created a bloc. That bloc has a military alliance. The military alliance is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, created in 1949. That bloc has a very important intelligence alliance called the Five Eyes Network, which includes Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, and the United States. That was created in the 1950s. Now it's an 11 Eyes movement, includes some European countries. In 1974, these countries created a political economic group, which was the G7. It was, Italy, West Germany at the time, United Kingdom, France, Canada, United States, and Japan. These were the G7 countries. So if you take the military alliance, the intelligence alliance, the kind of political guidance coming from the G7, this group becomes the global north. And this group actually unifies policy and starts to act together. Now, we calculated military spending by this bloc. The NATO plus bloc, that means the NATO countries plus a few allies like Japan and South Korea, if you include their total military spending, it's 74.3% of global military spending. People think, oh my God, China is becoming a major threat to the world. China's military spending is 10% of the global total. Russia, 4%. It's this NATO plus country with the United States as the major spender on military arsenal. This is the real threat to the world. And Israel is a part of this bloc. I mean, I'm very much of the view that the debate that has happened over many years, is the United States directing Israel or is Israel directing the United States? This is a debate we should stop having. The fact is, the United States and Israel are one country when it comes to the Palestinians. They operate hand in glove. If you start thinking that they are not hand in glove, you will get confused. When Joe Biden would say, well, we're trying to tell them to have a ceasefire, but meanwhile he's shipping 2,000-pound bombs, what he's saying is merely to confuse the world. In fact, they weren't trying to get Israel to have a ceasefire. There's no evidence of that. Blinken will travel to Tel Aviv 10 times during the conflict. But okay, when the Ansar Allah government in Yemen said that, look, we cannot any longer tolerate weapons going through the Red Sea and going to help Israel kill more Palestinians, we're going to stop that. United States government didn't bother with any diplomacy. They didn't send Blinken to Sana'a to go and talk to the Ansar Allah leadership. There was no diplomatic overture. They just threatened the Yemenis and then they bombed them. So look, in that sense, the United States was bombing Yemen on behalf of Israel.
Yeah.
Where is the space between these countries? So we generally think of this global north as a pact, as a bloc. Germany, with the United States, supplied almost 100% of Israel's weapons. United States about 80%, Germany close to 20%. These are hand in glove. Britain provided a small percent, but still very sophisticated equipment to the Israelis. They are hand in glove. I don't imagine that it's useful to continue the debate and discussion whether there's any difference between Berlin, London, Washington, and Tel Aviv. I think they are part of a bloc which we call the global north, and they treat those who are on the other side of the international division of humanity without any care for their life, for decency. There's no care and concern at all.